Secretary of Defense Dick Cheney is flying to Saudi Arabia shortly to deal with the Iraq-Kuwait crisis, a senior Middle East source told CBS News late today. Iraq claims its troops are withdrawing from Kuwait and not moving towards Saudi Arabia. But President Bush says Iraq is lying. CBS News Pentagon correspondent David Martin has the latest.
Cutting short his weekend at Camp David, President Bush received a whispered update on the Persian Gulf situation and then accused Iraq of reneging on its promise to start pulling out of Kuwait.
Iraqi lied once again. They said they were going to start moving out today, and we have no evidence that they're moving out.
Government-controlled Iraqi television released this videotape of troops supposedly heading home. But U.S. intelligence said it wasn't clear which way those troops were moving, north toward Iraq or south toward the Saudi Arabian oil fields in an almost certain military clash with the U.S.
There's mixed signals. On the side that they are going to invade is this troop movement, the fact that all leaves have been canceled, people in classrooms, military classrooms sent back to their units. But on the other hand, there has not been the propaganda barrage against Saudi Arabia that there was against Kuwait that preceded the invasion of Kuwait.
The president's options for heading off an Iraqi invasion of Saudi Arabia have been sharply limited by the Saudi refusal to grant the U.S. military access to its bases. So this afternoon, he dispatched Defense Secretary Cheney to Saudi Arabia in an attempt to convince the Saudis to let American forces in. Without that, the U.S. would have a hard time stopping Saddam Hussein from overrunning the Saudi oil fields.
We can bomb targets in Iraq, and if his columns are moving south, our air power should, in principle, be able to disrupt those ground forces moving south. But if he is determined to move at the moment, we cannot provide a defense.
Even if Saddam Hussein stops short of sending his tanks into Saudi Arabia, President Bush is becoming increasingly adamant that this crisis will not be over until the last Iraqi soldier is back home.
This will not stand. This will not stand, this aggression against Kuwait.
Connie, the only good news on a day in which this crisis seemed to get worse instead of better is that the American oil workers missing since Wednesday's invasion of Kuwait have all been found now.
Thank you, David Martin at the Pentagon. While President Bush planned his next moves in the Persian Gulf crisis, he took action in another hot spot, the West African nation of Liberia. U.S. Marines flew into Liberia by helicopter to evacuate Americans. Jim Stewart reports from the White House.
The decision to evacuate came after the leader of one of two rival rebel armies fighting for control of Liberia threatened to arrest foreigners, saying his goal was to provoke foreign intervention in the war. What he got was a rescue mission by U.S. Marines.
It was a very clear indication of threat against United States citizens as well as other foreign people in that country, and was a factor that caused us to move.
A Navy task force with 2,100 Marines has been steaming off Liberia since June. Early this morning, Chinook helicopters supported by Harrier jump jets and assault helicopters landed in the American Embassy compound in Monrovia and at two transmitter sites. So far, only 59 of 300 Americans have been evacuated, some apparently deciding to stay despite the danger, and others just not getting the word. But the White House says there will be no American intervention in the Civil War.
The Marine presence does not indicate or constitute any intention on the part of the U.S. government to intervene militarily in the Liberian conflict.
Fighting in Liberia has grown steadily more savage since rebels crossed into the country last December in an effort to overthrow President Samuel Doe. Doe, as well as the rebel leaders, were told of the American evacuation, and thus far the Marines have encountered no opposition. Some see it as a timely reminder to Iraq of America's pledge to protect its citizens overseas.
Marvelous opportunity for George Bush to send a message to Saddam Hussein. I think a low-risk operation, but use of force, it's a great, great opportunity to send a message.
The Marines are not home free yet. Fighting continues in Monrovia, and the President has pledged to keep troops there as long as necessary to protect U.S. citizens. Jim Stewart, CBS News, the White House.
And that's a short version of our news. I'll see you again tomorrow night on Face to Face at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Now back to Pat Summerall.
Well, we're at the TPC at Southwind. The playoff coming up between John Cook and Tom Kite will begin at the 13th hole, which is 430 yards long. Here's a look at it. And then they'll go to